Show me the money.
Just looking good, but I think I'm taking too long.
Back to the spot for a Glock. I took a loss over floss, but still got a knock.
Money! I'm not proud, Jerry. Does that make you feel good just to say that?
All right, show me the money. NFL picks for week number 1 are here. The football season's coming up very quickly on us. Joining me today to kick us all off for the 5th year of the Justin the Suffering Picks Challenge, Alan Austin is back with us. Alan, how are you?
I am well, Mike. Happy to be here. Very much looking forward to the NFL season.
I'm excited too. I mean, even though both our teams probably not going to make the playoffs here, it's nice to have some football back in our lives.
Nice to have some football back. And, you know, we as New York Jets and Giants fans have that unrelenting optimism regardless, where we think if a few things go right, the sky's the limit, even though we know by week 6 we're out of it.
Yeah, that's for sure. Though I'm hoping my team is not 2-7 after 9 games. Look at the mock drafts again. I'm hoping that's not the case.
I'm not going to lie. The Jets' schedule is rough with a capital R.
Yeah, I'm not asking the players. I'm asking to be on the Game the Hunt graphic in December. I don't think that's too much to ask.
We shall see.
We shall see. Have you had your fantasy draft yet?
I have not had any fantasy drafts yet this year, so it's still pretty open. How about yourself?
Yeah, I have one tonight. We're recording 1 week before the season opener on September 1st. I have the 1-1, so I actually am looking forward to taking Jonathan Taylor tonight.
Oh, beautiful. Your job was made easy in this case.
Yeah, I got a 1-pick head start, and then after that, my job gets hard again.
Absolutely. But that 1-pick head start is huge.
It absolutely is here. And let's talk about the Giants a little bit, because obviously you're a big Giant guy here. And this offseason for them was interesting because they're sort of cleaning up the mess here that Dave Gettleman left behind. They got rid of a bunch of bad contracts. They'll have more on the books. They brought in some new guys. What do you think what they did over the summer here?
It truly feels like a reboot. Finally, you know, we've stunk for so many years, and it was just this constant barrage of Gettleman moves to improve a crappy team. And now we finally have the new regime in place, and that alone made this offseason an A+. And I know it was only 2 offseasons ago where Joe Judge was brought in, but that was still Gettleman-led. So now we've gotten rid of Gettleman, we've gotten rid of Judge, which, what a fall from grace. After year 1, Giant fans were pretty pumped about him and believed in him. And by the end of last year, he couldn't be gone quick enough, and rightfully so. You know, I was someone who definitely gave him the thumbs up after 1 year, but his shtick got tired fast. Combine that with injuries and losing and just this awfully coached the last couple weeks, and it was time to go. So this feels like a winning regime is in place. These guys have come over from the Bills. It just feels, that alone feels like a win. And of course, we're cleaning up the Gettleman mess, which, you know, I'm sure your next question is expectations for the year. They're not great, but you want to see a competitive team that can win about 6 to 8 games.
Yeah, I feel like that's the right attitude to take here because, I mean, last year, especially like down the stretch, the Giants just non-competitive in games, and it looked like they were the worst team in football here. I mean,
they were the worst team in football last year.
Yeah, I would not disagree with that. They had some early wins to sort of bolster them up here, but the way I look at it, if you're a Giant fan, is like you want to see that you pick the right guys, have your team be competitive and be in a lot of games, and you're not going to win a lot of games, but say, hey, like, if I have the right coach here and like the right guy picking the players, and once I get better players, the win's going to follow.
100%. And another note, I am not a Daniel Jones guy. So my expectation, if he is mediocre at best and just not taking the bull by the horns and making this job his, I'd like to see Tyrod Taylor switched in as soon as possible. Jones's option was already declined. Taylor's on a 2-year deal. So I'd rather Taylor be the guy taking the first team snaps, starting the games, to be able to kind of mentor in whoever's coming in next year in the draft, because there's a pretty good crop next year. So I'd like to see that happen if we're not going to surprise the world and be, you know, in playoff contention.
Yeah, you definitely keep an eye on the Giants this year, and they have a tricky week 1 match. They're going on the road against Tennessee, who I feel like a lot of people are sleeping on Tennessee after they lost the first round of the playoffs year and they moved on from A.J. Brown in the offseason. But this is still a very good football team to give the Giants some problems.
This is a team that can beat the Giants. There's no doubt about it. You know, it would take nothing short of just spectacular play on one end and disappointing play on the other for this game to go the Giants' way. I just fear Derrick Henry is going to run right over us and just kind of have like 3 first-half touchdowns, and this game will be over by halftime. I'm hopeful that there's a shock here and the Giants pull off a week 1. We're feeling ourselves upset. I'm just not seeing it. So what I'm looking for in this game is offensive production. I think the defense might truly get run over. So I'm looking for this game to be competitive because the offense just keeps scoring. Will it happen? I doubt it, but I'm looking forward to it. But if I had to take a guess, I would say that the Titans walk out week 1 winners, and I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, we'll see what happens in that game here. And just because this is the week 1, I want to sort of set up here for the audience. If there's anybody who's joining us for the first time here, if you are, first of all, welcome. And then I will also say here, in terms of the pick setup here, what we do every week here is I'm on every week. I have a different guest come through every week, and we're going to do 3 picks against the spread. So we'll give you the lines, give you the reasoning here, and we'll keep track throughout the year, see who ends up winning this whole thing at the end of the year. I've won the regular season, I think, all 4 years. And last year I lost the playoffs. So maybe there's a little momentum building for the challenger team.
All right. Well, I am honored and humbled to be the first to take that crack.
Yep, you already be the first to take the crack here. And let's get into the picks here. So, Alan, as the guest, you can go first. Where are you going with pick number 1?
Sure. So with pick number 1, I am going to take the Vegas Raiders plus 3.5 against the Chargers. My rationale is I believe in this Raiders team. The Josh McDaniels reboot over there has begun after the Gruden mess. I liked the way the Raiders finished the season once Gruden was gone. I also like that even though it's late in the late in preseason, they're kind of cleaning house. I feel like they have a clear vision. They know what they are as a team, and I do think they will be the 5 seed in the playoffs. And I think that they will beat this Charger team, who I think is maybe being overhyped just a little bit. So I see them coming out strong and taking this game, thus covering the plus 3.5 against the Chargers.
The hook is massive in that game, in my opinion, too. Plus, I mean, you're right. I think the Raiders are getting slept on here. I mean, the Chargers are a very good football team, but they don't have a home field advantage at SoFi. This is a rematch of that Week 18 game, the classic that the Raiders won in overtime. I think the Raiders can put up a good effort here. If they lose, I think it's going to be close.
I agree, and you're right. There is no home field advantage for the Chargers. In fact, it might be home field advantage for the Raiders in this case. Absolutely.
We're going with pick number 2.
Pick number 2, I am taking the Rams plus 2.5 over the Bills in the Thursday night opener. And the reason is I think the Rams are, I think too many people are assuming Super Bowl hangover. I think they're going to come out strong, and I think they're actually a really good matchup for the Bills. So I will go out here and say that the Rams take this one plus 2.5 over the Bills. Tough pick, but I wanted to be a little bold, so I'm going with the Rams.
I do like the value on that play, though, too, because this is the opening night for the Rams. They're raising the banner there. I know they've lost some key pieces here, and the Bills are a very good team, but, I feel like the moment's going to, really hype the Rams up here. They're going to come out fired up here. I think it's a very tough spot for the Bills to be in.
I completely agree. I think, I don't want to call facing the defending champions a trap game because I'm high on the Bills, but I do think the Rams take this opener at home. I wouldn't be shocked if they don't, but that's how I feel.
All right, where are you going with your last pick of the week?
My last pick of the week is the Dolphins minus 3 over the Patriots. This might be a hot take, but I think the Patriots are just not that good, and I think the Dolphins have enough firepower on offense to kind of, take this one to the bank. And I'm pretty confident in that. I would say that the Dolphins minus 3 is my most confident pick of the week.
I love that pick so much because I think, obviously, I'm also with you. I don't think the Patriots being overrated. You've heard all the reports in the offseason about how their offense was like a mess in practice here. The Dolphins beat them twice last year with the same quarterbacks in the system here. The Dolphins have gotten better since I think the Patriots have gotten worse. I think this will be a rough year for New England. I think I like Miami here, especially in South Beach where the Patriots never play well. I think it's a good spot for the Dolphins.
I agree, and I just don't see why Joe Judge, Matt Patricia are given so much pull after proving that they just kind of lost their touch. I know Belichick's the mastermind, but I just don't like that group this year, and I know it's a group that was together in the past, but the way they're lined up now, I'm just not a fan of it. I think it's going to be an off year for the Pats, and I think their fans are going to be quite humbled in 2022, and that's just... some people might see that as bold, but that's truly how I think this season's going to play out for the Patriots.
All right, you're on the board now. I'm up next. Pick number 1. I'm going to go to a revenge game here. I think the Panthers laying 2.5 at home against the Browns here. I think this is the Baker Mayfield revenge game here. He's very angry at the Browns. Dumped him for Deshaun Watson. Watson obviously not here for this game. He gets suspended for 11 games. Jacoby Brissett under center for the Browns. Gains in Carolina. Healthy Christian McCaffrey have a huge role in this offense here. I think Baker lights the Browns up here. I'm laying under a field goal, so I'll take the Panthers laying the 2.5 points.
No, I like the pick a lot. I do think this is the Baker Mayfield revenge game as it's being billed. I think the Browns are not that good of a football team also. I have them in my preseason finishing 4th in their division. I think that, Deshaun Watson, when he was a Texans quarterback, they still stunk. So I'm not truly confident that the pieces around Watson are going to make them this juggernaut that the Browns ownership hopes. And I do see the Panthers taking this Week 1 win, and I'm rooting for them to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. Pick number 2. I'm going to go to Monday night here. I'm going to take the Broncos laying 6.5 in Seattle against the Seahawks. This is the Russell Wilson return game here. And Seattle's just not very good. I mean, they're starting Geno Smith at quarterback here. They have questionable players on that team. Apart from that, they've lost some key guys on the defense here. I think Denver coming out here, Russell will be fired out to show that the Seahawks that they made a mistake not unleashing him all these years. Emotional game here. I think Denver is just going to come out and make a statement. I think this game is a double-digit win for the Broncos.
I completely agree with you. The only reason I didn't have this one on my list of picks is because I didn't like the 6.5 ever. Like, I rarely like that. I'm pretty confident in your pick. I really think that the Broncos will look strong here on opening night for them, and right off the heels of the Russell Wilson extension, I think they come out strong, and I agree with you.
And pick number 3, I like the number here. I think this is a tricky spot here for the Eagles. I'm going to take the Lions getting 4 at home against the Eagles on opening day here. I think the Eagles, everybody's hyping them up like, oh, they're going to win the division. The Cowboys are banged up. I need to see Jalen Hurts do more throwing the football. I think this team is a bit vulnerable to getting all the press clippings, all the hype around them. The Lions might cause the Hard Knocks effect. I like the way they're coming together as a team. They have some young talent on the defensive side. It's very interesting here. I think this game's a very close game because Detroit played a lot of close games last year, particularly at home. And I think they have a chance here to pull an upset here and stun the Eagles opening day. I'm going to take the Lions getting 4 points at home in that last pick of the week.
I like it. I'm rooting for them. I've watched Hard Knocks. I'm bummed out that spoilers happened just by the announcement of roster cuts. But I really, really enjoyed the Lions this year, but I don't know if they're going to be able to beat the Eagles. I feel like it's a little bit of us with, rose-colored glasses on, hoping for the best. But I am rooting along with you for the Lions to take this one, obviously, as a Giants fan and as someone who doesn't mind the Lions and actually likes Dan Campbell. So I'll be rooting for your pick to come true.
Yeah, I love the fact I'm getting 4 points in that game, too. Having more than 3 as an underdog is always nice.
I agree, except when you're the Seahawks. I'm scared about that one.
All right, so reset the picks here. Allen is taking the Raiders getting 3.5 in SoFi against the Chargers. The Rams getting 2.5 on opening night against the Bills. The Dolphins laying 3 at home against the Patriots. I'm taking the Panthers laying 2.5 in the Baker Mayfield revenge game. Taking the Broncos laying 6.5 in Russell Wilson's return to Monday Night Football. And I'm going to take the I'm going to take the Detroit Lions getting 4 points at home against the Eagles. And those are your picks for week 1 here on the podcast. I'm going to be joined next week on the podcast here by good friend mine making his return to the Just in the Suffering Streets. Nick DeLesio is going on here. We're going to talk some Jets next week and see how we do against Baltimore week 1.
Looking forward to it. And like I said, the Giants, I believe, are at 6.5. I don't love that spread either because I think if they're going down, it's going to be a rough one.
Yeah, the Jet number, I think, this week is they're +7 at home against the Ravens here. That's a game nobody expects them to win. I think they could make it interesting, though. Joe Flacco's been hot in the preseason. He seems to be doing well in this Mike LaFleur offense here, too.
Yep, I just don't like that line. I think the Ravens are a good football team. I don't think they're phenomenal, but I think they're a solid football team. And this opening run for the Jets is a rough one. How do you honestly feel them handling this 4-game stretch to open the season against the North? My gut says 1-3.
I think they can pull a split, but I think 1-3 is probably the most likely outcome here.
You think they could beat Pittsburgh?
I think they can beat Pittsburgh, and I think, again, the quarterback play is not great for the Steelers. I think they are a little overhyped, in my opinion, in Pittsburgh.
Interesting. It's a tough schedule, like I said, but, for our New York teams, we just want to see progress. That's how I feel.
I feel that way too, Alan. Thanks all the time. Really appreciate it. Before I let you go, I can people follow on social media, keep up with some of the stuff you're up to.
Sure. I think the best way to follow me right now is Twitter at Allen, ALLEN _Austin _.
Absolutely, Alan. Thanks for all the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike. Always a pleasure.